bigger question, what do you think about my new mic stand? Check it. What do you think?
It looks like a lamp. I don't know why you're like. It really just looks like.
I mean, I don't. I think it looks cool, but I hope you spend a ton of money on it so you feel embarrassed because
I didn't.
There's not much different. Like the mic already comes with a pretty nice stand.
No, but now it takes up less.
So you unhooked it from this nice little rotating.
Yeah, but it's.
You have to buy a whole new mic just for that stand.
I mean, now I want to buy a whole new mic so I can have one that's on a base and one that's not. But in the meantime, but also now anything
So now you can go now here's let's hear from you and move it and just move it back to yourself because it's you who's talking.
Right, but if we have a guest, for example, who's sitting in studio, then you have one of these. But also, it doesn't wobble or anything when I'm moving around the.
Well, it seems like it'd wobble more now because it's hanging over you. Also, you're look, guest, you have this very personalized, beautiful hanging microphone, but you have to sit on this shitty stool. So, maybe just buy a nice chair for your
Does
guest.
my voice sound better though now?
No.
Here we are, and welcome to another episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast, where I get together with my sisters and we invite you to join our family for an hour. I am joined by my sisters Becky and Lily. Becky is in California. Becky, how are you?
How am I? Wow, I didn't even really prepare for that. I'm doing
for a change, really Lily, right?
For a change. I didn't prepare for the question. I just
she
I don't.
Doesn't, it's at to the point where she doesn't even prepare for how are you.
Yeah.
No one's asking you for recommendations or shout outs or to remember what movie you were.
Of which I have.
I know how you are. It's a yes or no answer, good or bad.
I have both this week. I have shout-outs and recommendations. I'm doing pretty well. It's a sunny day, finally. Feeling good.
But
I had one of those mornings.
Prepared when she just tells you the weather.
No, yeah. I had one of those mornings where.
Also, it's the weather in California. When is it not sunny and good?
Sunny
no, it was rainy for a while. No, I had one of those mornings where I woke up naturally as opposed to waking up to the cries of my child. And even though I got up 10 minutes later than we normally have been getting up with her, it was that natural wake up where I just feel like I'm on top of the world today. I got a proper night's sleep because I woke up naturally. So that feels like a bit of a gift. So I'm doing well.
Okay, cool. Lily, you're in the Canary Islands. How are you?
I'm in the Canary Islands. Sometimes it doesn't matter whether you're in the Canary Islands or not. Life is still work, crazy stress. I just want to confirm that to people. It's like people who are super rich. Because you go
on a lot of vacations.
True, but you know how people who are super rich, they still have problems, right? They're just
problems that we don't want to know about.
Islands still
get bronchitis.
They still get bronchitis twice in a month.
Mom, by the way,
have
told
crazy work stress.
Everybody at the funeral that we were at, which I'll talk about in a moment, that you had pneumonia. She told everybody.
Yeah.
She's got bronchitis and pneumonia, which I kind of think you do too. So I
mean, let's just hedge our bets. We'll just hedge our bets and assume she gets pneumonia.
I just want to make a brief statement here. So I like to paint a picture. I'm doing great now, but on Saturday I had one of the hardest. It's the hardest work day for us of the year.
You're welcome for me not having a lot to say about the state of how I am. That way there's more room for you to tell very detailed stories. So
Believe it or not, I planned this out. I was when Shai asked me how I am, I have something to say. So that's why.
My life is just not as thrilling as yours.
Could be. So
we're retiling our bathroom. That's how I am. Okay?
No, those are the kind of things that you don't need to share. It's okay.
Right. I have this massive work event that, of course, you guys know how hard it's been and, how much work we put into it. It's this huge, 600-person event that we run every year. Big, martial. I've talked about this on the podcast last year, probably. It's like the last scene in Karate Kid, except we just do it here in the Canary Islands.
And with more churros con chocolate.
Right. And just with Spaniards
you guys
instead of...
serve churros at the event? Do you have, a churro cart?
There, we don't have a churro cart, but this year we did have like a cafe, and they probably did have churros, but I didn't get the menu.
I feel like Becky, if Lily is selling a martial arts open in the Canary Islands, and there
should be a
no
churro
cart, or at the very least, just like a ham leg that people are walking around and like just shaving off for the people in the audience, like the way they do cones of popcorn.
Right. Let's see if we can get some good churros when we're in LA. I'm gonna Google that. All right, Lily, continue.
I'm thinking you guys should just start your own podcast called The Churro, and I'll listen to that, and I'll check.
Careful what you wish for. Shai loves a good podcast.
Careful what you wish for. Anyway, so if you would let me finish talking, ironic, isn't it?
Sorry, I snorted. That's really funny.
Also, because of this new Skype feature, every time you move,
you're blurry. It's like you don't give yourself permission to be on your own
give
video
like a description of what's going on with your cameras today. There's this new Mac feature that's making everything outside the center of the frame extremely, extremely blurry. So every time Shai or Lily moves, they just get blurred out, and I can't see them. It's very.
Yeah, it looks like we don't have like the copyright permission or whatever, or the branding permission.
No, we don't have release forms for your faces, so we just keep blurring them.
Exactly. So anyway, so I'm at this event on working my ass off, but also sick. So that's like extra nightmarish to have to be, running a huge event, wanting to like crawl into bed and die. And my dear brother, about like halfway through the morning, he's texting me like, how you doing, whatever. And I'm like, I'm just in the thick of it. I'm just really stressed. Can't really text right now. And he's like, I'm sending you something. It'll pump you up. So he sends me something. I kind of like see it on the WhatsApp for a sec. And he's like, no, you got to look at it now. It'll like absolutely pump you up. And I'm like, I can't be looking at my phone right now. Like I'm nonstop work. And he texts me again. He's like, it'll just watch half of it. It'll just make you so worth it. Like it'll really pump you. Oh, fine. So like I find like a quiet place to go sit for a second because I have to be able to hear it. And there's so much noise in the like sports pavilion. And I'm like, obviously it's gonna be a Coach Taylor like Clear Eyes, Full Hearts. Maybe it's the speech he gives like to Vince, or the speech that he gives at the end of the show. And I'm like, this is what I need right now to get through the day. And I open up the video. And to my confusion, it's fucking Randy Macho Man Savage giving like an absurd, possibly like worrisome, like he's having a stroke, like blurby, like ridiculous rant to a fake reporter in the 80s about how he's the cream of the crop, and he takes out these like tiny little cream packs like you get on an airplane, and he keeps taking them out and like throwing them. They keep coming out of nowhere. So basically he sent me a magic trick with a very like pumped up on steroids man in a very tight tank top.
I don't even understand this description.
Exactly. Don't understand the description because it makes no sense. And I was like, I don't see Coach Taylor anyway. What is this? And I start watching it, and I was like, I am now pissed that I have wasted 10 minutes of my valuable time on this stupid fucking video. And I was like, didn't even respond. I was like, did not motivate me at all. Now super annoyed at you.
First of all, that is Randy Macho Man Savage's classic cream of the crop promo speech.
Is that a thing? Is that a thing that people who watch the WWE know about? Is that Clear Eyes, Full Hearts Can't Lose speech to wrestlers?
I think so. But it does involve this giant man taking tiny little creamer packets and like putting them on his head and squeezing them and exploding them.
What does that even mean?
If you're looking for something to motivate you, it does not motivate at all. This video was brutal. But yeah, so other than having to watch that, I'm good.
Cool. Well, I will. Thank you for asking. I will take things into the serious zone for a moment. I attended the funeral on Sunday of our great aunt, Doris, Tia Doris, who is one of, not only was she our great aunt, but she is one of the great all-time aunts, and she was extremely close to our mom and extremely close to our grandmother, Salunia, and herself a grandmother. She was a Holocaust survivor. She survived escaping Cuba, and that was only in the first, third of her life. She then had, another 60, 70 years of being an incredible mother and grandmother and aunt, and a lot of members of our family turned out. for it, and I was able to spend the day with Mom and Dad, and I wanted to just report on that. It was obviously sad saying goodbye to her, but it was very special celebrating her life with all of our cousins and aunts and uncles and stuff. And so that was an interesting, intense Sunday, and then it was followed by Shiva, which for those listening at home who are not Jewish, is or not familiar with the custom, is the 7 days of mourning that take place after a Jewish funeral. You go to somebody's house and you visit with the mourners, and one of the great traditions of Shiva is the food, right? Like if someone ever passes away in Jewish that that's Jewish, you don't buy them flowers, you buy them food. And there is something weird and cosmic about food at a Shiva. It's sort of like it's always, considering it's always the hardest and saddest times, it is always the best food. And
leave it to you, no offense, but to give us a review of the food at our dear Aunt Shiva.
So,
well, I mean,
I want to allow me to just comment on some of the items. Number one, there was corned beef, which you don't usually see at a Shiva. There's usually some lox and bagel, but there was corned beef, and you're up in the New Jersey, New York area, so this was quality, delicious corned beef sandwiches. There was rye bread, and now when I say rye bread, it was not that like weird rye bread with too many caraway seeds that are in most of the delis in the United States that, it's like stinky rye bread. This was like the rye bread that we used to have at the Snowden Deli in Montreal, like with that really nice yellow crispy crust. There were, of course, delicious bagels, like New York, New Jersey area bagels, and a lot of fruit. And there were many, many desserts, but I had, those dry Shabbat cookies with the sprinkles?
Sure. Please, the best.
Becky's
they kind of like
food.
Crumble in your mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're not sure what's holding them together.
What is the
Becky's
actual
favorite.
technical name of those cookies? Because
Shabbat cookies.
Shabbat cookies?
Shabbat cookies, but I like look them up
It's
in
like
my
kosher
app.
bakery cookies. Shabbat cookies.
These were phenomenal, and so I also think that was a great tribute to our great aunt, that the food was terrific. I don't know how you move on to our podcast about movies and television after that, but
you are just talking about the food. You're not even talking about anything sad.
Did you guys want to talk
about our aunt? Well, I love our aunt, and really sad. And Becky and I do have to say that we joke that you're much of the Taylor, and while you are, it also means that in times like when Becky and I can't get to a family event, it's really important, and we all know that like one of us can represent. And so the fact that you were able to do that is amazing. So thank you.
And I will say you guys really kept me company on what was a long day of trains and driving, because we have our little Friday night movie text chain going, and we were able to keep each other company throughout the day.
Down the rabbit hole, that stupid video you sent me, and Becky joined in later, and she was like, "Oh, thank God, I missed all of this."
Yeah, maybe you could tell us what you watched on your train rides to and from, because you had a couple hours to kill.
Oh, okay. So let's see. A couple of weeks ago, I went to see WWE's Monday Night Raw. And I may have gone down a little bit of a wrestling rabbit hole and signed up for the free trial of the WWE Network app.
Oh, Shai.
You get into something, man. It is no joke.
Apps. It's enough with the app. But you have an app for everything.
Well, it's a free trial. So on the way home...
Did you have to put your credit card in?
A little bit.
Well, maybe a little. It's a Poquito credit card. Yeah.
So on the way up, I mostly rested because I had to take the train at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and so, or 6 o'clock in the morning, but I was up at like 4:30, so I slept most of the way. On the way back, though, WrestleMania 35 was actually happening, so I watched chunks of that, and that was very long but entertaining. And I will say, I don't know how long this phase will last, but I want to,
this is not nostalgic from your youth. This is a new discovery as an adult that you're enjoying. You weren't that into wrestling as a kid.
No, I watched it a little bit in the 80s, during that 80s, early 90s kind of golden era of our childhood.
Shai, in the 80s, as if anybody ever watched this at any other point in time. It's the 80s, and then you just by yourself watching it now. That's it. There's nobody else.
No, it's huge.
No, actually,
Everyone is watching it.
First of all,
I'm kidding. I can't believe how big it is.
I mean, I'm not watching it, and you're not watching it because the gutter palette stops somewhere. There is a rock bottom, but there's a lot of people out there watching.
No, and now with Ronda Rousey, she's bringing some serious legitimacy to it.
Some cachet, if you will.
The Take-Two Takedown podcast guys have been extremely supportive. Those guys, that is from the Take-Two podcast, there's Tony and Brian, but then there's the crew that runs the specific wrestling episodes. They have been in touch and guiding me on which matches to catch up on and which specific episodes of other things to watch. And so I feel like I'm learning a little bit about what's happening now. And then my dear friend Mark Porter, who we ran into at the WWE Raw along with his fiance and a dear friend of ours, Kerry, has also been texting me like updates on like if I watch a match and I want to know.
Well, look, all I can say is I'm glad you found people to enjoy this with, because if you were doing this and like had no one to talk to about it, it would be really
well. It would not be fun to do it alone. So, but here's the theory that I'm going to put forward to you. So this, to me, a lot of it is like the original reality TV, in the sense that there was a time when people didn't know that these people were fake, right? There's a lot now everybody knows it's like fake, but they used to play the characters essentially all the time, and there's all these like odd beefs between people.
So you're saying it's like the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but not in a ring. Like, but in a ring.
In a ring.
With extremely athletic
I feel like there's
people.
probably a similar amount of violence.
Yeah, exactly. But extremely athletic people doing very dangerous things. To be honest, the stunts are nuts. And
did you see that? Well, we won't get into it, but that whole John Oliver bit about how like they don't get health.
Well, no, I think of course, leave it to me to get into wrestling the week after the John Oliver bit comes out, like trashing it.
And everybody is telling you,
so
how could you support a terrible industry?
Anyways, but then the other interesting thing was that they had their first ever female main event, and they had 3 women battling for the joint wrestling titles of multiple different belts and things, and that was pretty cool. And Ronda Rousey was one of them, Lily, one of your and
all-time fave UFC fighters.
So anyways, so that is that's what I spent a lot of that time watching. The other thing that I've been watching nonstop is Schitt's Creek. I'm in. Lons gets the I Told You show. Once I got past the first 2 episodes, which are the setup of the show, were decidedly not as good. But once I hit episode 3, 4, 5, boom, I'm already midway through the second season. It is hilarious. The friendship between the character David and Stevie, the lady who runs the hotel, is one of the more amazing friendships I've seen on television. It is so funny. And Eugene Levy's and Catherine O'Hara are geniuses. They're just absolute geniuses. It's just like watching 2 amazing musicians just jam. They're like, these are the characters we're going to play on this show, and it's going to be amazing and funny.
That's how I felt about Forever with Fred Armisen and Maya Rudolph. It's just like these 2 totally brilliant comedians just being weird together.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. And I would say it is so good that it even overcomes the fact that Chris Elliott has a role on the show. And Chris Elliott is a funny person that I used to. He played what's her name's dad on How I Met Your Mother. What's the name of the redhead?
I blocked that show.
Allison Hannigan's character. She is like the deadbeat dad.
Is Chris Elliott? Is he the guy
He's
from?
Abby Elliott's dad.
Is he from the one
from
Something About Mary?
About Mary. That's right. Yeah. All you had to say was something about Mary.
So he's a talented and funny person, but I'm just tired of him playing like a gross, like local gross person, and he's playing that role like once again, like that guy who's the mayor of the town who like always sticks his hand in your food kind of character.
Ugh.
And it's just gross.
I always think of I have a white hat on my eyeball.
Right, exactly. It's ever since that role they're like, whatever's gross we're gonna make him do, and so makes me gag, and so he's actually pretty good in it, but at first he's one of the first characters you're introduced to on the show, and you're just like, is this really going to be good? Because this is like going to have a lot of just typical Chris Elliott stuff. But no, the show is really good. It is really lovable. Has a lot of good characters. Very funny. And
where can people find it? Because it isn't on like the most random.
It's on something
I'm
called
sure Shai has an app for it.
Pop.
What app?
It's on Netflix is what I'm watching it on.
Oh, okay.
But it's on. But it is being created by something called Pop Goes the Weasel or something like that. It's probably
some like made up network that hopefully like now, which happens to so many shows, that Netflix gives them like a resurgence of life because people have access to them.
Yeah, so I'm sure Pop is like local television in Manitoba or something like that. But now so they have that. And then the other show that I watched one episode of, but I can't wait to watch more of, is Tacoma FD Delivered. It is starring the guy who plays Mac, Steve Lemmy. And
I'm so happy that you like it. I was like going to be really sad if it was crappy.
Kevin Heffernan, who played Farva. They play the top two firemen at a very boring fire department. So it's a lot of the jokes that you love about Super Troopers and like pranks and things like that. But it's a little bit more, I would say, family friendly of a show. It's a little bit less edgy, but it's also quite funny. And just to give you an idea of one of the bits in the first episode, the Farva character is actually, or the guy that Kevin Heffernan plays is like the captain who just got promoted to be the captain. So he's trying to like make sure everything is going well, but he's also still buddies with all the different...
So he's not playing Farva?
No, he's not playing Farva. He's playing like a nice, responsible guy who just got to be
That's
promoted.
Refreshing.
Got to be
playing against type.
Yeah, although he's kind of oafy. But yeah, he was sort of like the one of the guys.
Against type from like the one movie he's in.
Whatever.
Well, anyway, so he...
But it's true. I mean, it's such a memorable character. It's hard to...
He plays the boss, and then Steve Lemmy, who plays Mac, plays essentially Mac, who is he was the second in command of the fire department, who's like the chief trickster who wants his old buddy to still be a trickster with him, but he has to be... But Kevin Heffernan has to be serious now. And so... To play a prank on Kevin Heffernan's character, Steve Lemmy's character takes frozen shrimp from like Costco and unscrews the seat of his chair and hides it in like the pipe of the middle of the chair in his office. And so like, as the episode keeps going on, he keeps coming back to his office being like, oh my god, and he's like starts tearing apart the office looking for the shrimp smell. Anyway, it has a good...
Where can people find that show?
What app do you need to watch that one?
That one is on something called True
TV?
TV. I have never heard of it in my life.
It's also made up. That's so annoying. Like, why are there's... When we were kids, there was 2 channels. Now there's 1 million channels and like 17,000 apps you need to watch a show. They should just put everything on Netflix. Give me a break. Everything should just go on Netflix.
So if you have a TV provider, which I have, you can just watch it on demand. So we're just watching it on DirecTV.
Nobody has it anymore, Shai. You live in the 80s. That's not a thing.
Do you also have a landline?
He does. I'm sure he has a landline.
Probably is 2. Probably is a fax line.
He has a fax. Shai has a fax just so he can be like, we have a fax. I'm keeping it real in the 90s. So where do people see the show?
On True TV.
In 2019. Don't tell me you made up stations.
Use the dial-up modem in Shai's house.
You don't have already, if you're recommending a show on this podcast, you have to have already the secondary app that people can watch it on.
Maybe it's available on Hulu. I'll check while
you're
you guys.
Telling me you have actual Truth TV, and that's how you're the only person that's seen this show.
No. It just comes on your.
Create a show. What do they expect? Nobody to watch it when they say no one's watching our show. No one can find it.
I think it's the most popular show on True TV now, which makes me happy because it looks relatively inexpensive to make, and that means we'll get a lot of episodes of it.
Well, that happened to me with what's that show we loved? The MMA show? I can't remember what it's called now.
Oh, Kingdom.
I can't watch the second half of it. I can't watch the last season because it's literally not available anywhere ever.
Nope. The only place you can find it is on Region 4 Australian DVDs. I've found on eBay. That is the only thing, and I'm afraid to order them because I don't
go to the far reaches, of the.
I still haven't seen the last season, and or the second half of the last season.
The DVD probably won't work on our DVD players, is what you're saying.
Well,
Right,
I
Shai?
think it might work on a computer's DVD player, but you might have to change the region.
You can change the region.
Which is
But
not.
it's not
Still have
doing
DVD
that anymore.
players?
Change the region to Australia, and your computer's not going to give a shit because you're never going to use it. Who uses this DVD?
Also,
I don't even
who
have
has
a
DVD player in their computer? That's not a thing
Oh
anymore.
no, I have 3 DVD players. 2 of them are Blu-ray players.
One of them can switch to the region.
Those are just the ones for my computer. I'm not even including the. Anyways, yeah. So it's a region 4 DVD. Why do we still have regions?
Also, don't you feel like if someone went into your house, it would be, or like your technical setup could be like a time capsule for all technology of like the last 30 years.
I'm
that
staring
people could
right
use
here
to
at
watch
a
shows.
VCR. I got a VCR in my office here.
No one would know what year it is if they walked into your house.
My
Is it the
kids,
future?
my
Is it the
kids found a
past?
bunch of tapes. Josh gave me his old tapes because he wants me to digitize them, like his old mixes that he made for girlfriends and things like that.
And you just said yes because you have nothing better to do?
No, it's just in the backlog of things, and
The backlog?
yeah, there's a backlog of projects, and it's on the stack over here. And the kids saw them,
Josh,
and they were
no
like,
shame,
"Oh
and
my!"
also super smart.
The
I mean,
kids,
that's
the
why I
kid,
did
the
that.
kids saw them, and they were like, "Oh my God, Daddy has one of these." They didn't even know the name of it. These are so fancy.
Oh, wow.
Well, let's keep in mind.
Do you remember having to wait till the song came on the radio that you wanted, and then you'd have your tape in the boombox or whatever, and you could hit record?
And you'd have the beginning of the whatever radio announcer was.
An ad, yeah, or
What
whatever
is
it
the
is
song
for-
you did that for? Because I have some funny ones that I did it for.
Gosh. Oh, man. I don't know. Tell us some, and some will come to my mind.
So I did it for Sugar Sugar by the Archies on Oldies 990. I did it for Vanilla Ice's Ice Ice Baby, the radio edit version. And I really want
Wonderwall by Oasis. I remember doing it
wow.
to Wonderwall.
And I don't know if you remember that song. I think it was called like Betty Boop doing the dupe or whatever it was called. It was when 990 hits first started. 980 hits? I don't know. It was whatever in Montreal. The song was a hit. Becky, do you have one that you did it to, or were you already too old to use the regular?
Well, she was probably doing it. We were probably doing it together.
No, we're probably doing it
That's
together.
when we
And
were
then,
friends,
I
so we
mean,
did
I remember making mixtapes only, like throughout,
So the name
like
of the
late
song.
elementary school.
The name
high
of the
school.
song is Betty Boo doing the do.
Oh, yeah, I was just looking for it now. Betty Boo doing the do. Well, if only you could buy the rights and then have it appear on the podcast now.
Yeah.
Even if you had the rights, you can't figure out how to put a song in here somehow. Yet you have a server that has like 10 other servers and backups just in case you have a power failure at your house. You can't insert a song into this goddamn podcast.
I mean,
Now,
You have your limits.
there.
We get it.
Now, I'm not the only one suffering. We know that Vlad, our dear brother-in-law Lily, is at home suffering. Becky, you want to give us the update and maybe kick off our Rex RX segment?
So, I mean, a week ago, he's suffering now, but the reason he's suffering is because he did not take his recovery time seriously. I took his recovery time seriously, and I watched lots of shows. So it's actually really fun. So he had his wisdom teeth removed a week ago today. Poor guy, was all swollen with the ice packs and the gauze pads and the medicine, brought him home, and we, immediately dove into some shows. We actually got a few great things under our belt, and I was sad to say that after one day he's like, no, I'm feeling pretty good, and he went about his business, and I definitely stayed home for 2 full days watching shows. I was not messing around. I wanted to make sure I was recovered from his trauma. Of course, he's now still in pain and he's suffering, and I'm like, you need another recovery day. You need to just relax and watch shows. So we watched a few things. I'm curious though, in this scenario, knowing that you are on pain medication, so you're a little sleepy, you're a little loopy, and you're definitely not going anywhere, but you need to be able to take breaks and nap. What would you guys recommend in this very particular Rex RX situation?
So when I got my wisdom teeth out, I got all 4 done in the same day. They were pulled out, and there wasn't.
As opposed to what?
As opposed to surgery, where you go under. I was awake, and in Canada they only give you.
Do they have to like cut the bone? Were you impacted?
No. They
that's what they do.
No, then they have to have surgery. And they just gave me some like Advil and sent me home. Yep. And one of the things that can happen is that your saliva can mix with the blood and make it look like you're like bleeding out of your mouth.
You're gonna have to put a disclaimer now on the front of this episode.
Wait,
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that day.
So you guys all went out to like history night at your school.
Yeah, it was history night at school, and it was Becky's history night. We're like, God, Becky, do you remember when you had to perform or something? You were doing something at school.
I remember history night very well. I cannot believe you guys remember it.
I remember it. So
who did you have to be?
No, you got to play whatever historical character you wanted in the entire world. And I was like, I played Audrey Hepburn. I was like, it could be any historical character I wanted.
That's very cool. So
familiar.
Becky's
and
playing
we all went out to Becky's thing, and you were home.
Because I just got my wisdom teeth out, and I went into the bathroom to look at, like, to check out the situation as a teenager. Yeah, and blood just starts like pouring out of my mouth.
You like hemorrhaged.
No, I didn't hemorrhage.
No, he didn't. It was just a normal amount of blood, but just in a Corman household.
No, Shai, I remember coming home with Mom, and there were like handprints, like soft. There was
that is true. It was like
of blood on the wall and on the bathroom mirror, and you weren't there.
No, because I fainted because I was so stressed, and I was collapsed in the bathtub,
screaming because it looked like someone came in and murdered you.
And so I
it's like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I'm laying down in the bathtub. There's like blood everywhere.
Laying in the bathtub.
So much so that we knew the dentist personally, and Mom invited the dentist, like had the dentist come over to the house to check on me.
Invited. I like how you say Mom invited the dentist over. How do we think that conversation really went?
And by the time he came over, of course, it was like totally fine and everything was dried up. And I was like, oh no, everything's fine now. And he said, yeah, because I told you weren't really bleeding. It was just your saliva and blood. So anyways, because of that, I'm going to recommend movies that are a little bit on the violent side. But
okay, that makes sense.
Also require that they're the kind of movie where you can nod off, and they have sort of episodes to them in a sense. Like you can watch them in sections if you like. So one of them I'm going to suggest. This is old school, 80s, maybe early 80s, and this is the original Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and.
That's fun one. Yeah. I feel like you kind of like be sleepy in it. I'm
gonna see your Conan and raise you a Willow.
Oh, okay. Well, Willow's a better choice by far. Willow's a better choice by far.
You could definitely take naps during it because you've seen it enough times.
And then it's just once. You're not stuck in like a trilogy. You gotta keep going.
Willow is peak Val Kilmer. Forget the Iceman. Forget Heat.
The Saint is like a Kilmer renaissance that I wish lasted longer than the Saint, but
that's true. But Mad Mardigan, the greatest swordsman who ever lived,
it is peak
you want him to take out your wisdom teeth. He's so good with those blades.
Yeah, Kilmer for sure.
And then another one I would recommend, along the same lines, again, these are movies where you're going to be sort of zapped on painkillers, so they're kind of sprawling, and if you miss a little bit, it doesn't really matter. You might not know what's going on, but you also don't care. So I'm going to also go with The Chronicles of Riddick. We just watched another Fast and Furious 7, which... I have to say, we end every time we watch a Fast and the Furious, we can't remember which one we're on. So we start watching the previous one, and they're like, oh, no, we've seen this one. But Vin Diesel has at different times really showed how awesome he can be. And as the Riddick character in Chronicles of Riddick, he was pretty awesome. The movie is uneven at best. But again, if I was drifting in and out of sleep with tooth pain, I'd want to watch some of those different scenes.
All right. Those are great recommendations. Wish I had called you in advance.
But I would say Conan is a much better movie than people remember. It's just way darker. The original one, not Conan the Destroyer. Conan the Destroyer is not a good movie, but Conan the Barbarian is pretty cool. What about you? What did you guys watch?
So we ended up watching this Australian comedy. It's a little bit serious. It's a little bit of a drama, but also a comedy.
A dramedy?
Yeah. But it's very quirky. The main character is very odd. He's a very kind of like odd character. It's called Please Like Me, and it's definitely a good show to watch with the mood we were in, because I think if we were just sitting down in the evening, be like, oh, let's put on an episode, we really wouldn't have watched more than one. I mean, it's good. It's definitely good, but it just Vlad wouldn't have been into it enough, and it didn't. At the end of the episode, I wasn't like, oh, I need to see what happens next. But if you're just sitting on your couch all day, you're like, yeah, I'd watch this whole season, 6 episodes, knock it out. He kept napping. He didn't really care. It was entertaining enough for me. And it was quite good. So we watched that. And then once he was feeling a little bit more alert, we started Orphan Black, because he's never seen it.
Oh, so that's like a good one
where it's like you're feeling better and you're alert, but you're still in pain, so you don't want to do anything. That's a great one. You're just hanging out and you're just going to like tear through a bunch of episodes.
I recommend, when we did RX for somebody, I don't know if it was for, oh my God, Nancy, who's on mat leave or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that I recommended. I think that's a great, like stay-at-home show, kind of plows through.
Yeah.
Cool.
So what else are you watching, Beck?
What else am I watching these days? Okay, so I saw Please Like Me. I saw Shazam on opening night. Got a babysitter and everything. That was very exciting. Well, I mean, our friend Joey came over and watched her. I mean, I bought him Thai food.
Quick buy renter man on Shazam.
Bye. That's going to be my review. I have some caveats with it. Like, I think it suffers from a couple of the superhero movie problems, which is just that it's really long with like a lot of backstory, and then somehow with all the backstory there are still some like very obvious plot holes where you're like, why did you spend all that time on A when you could have just spent 3 minutes on B and everything would have made more sense? But it
doesn't have that thing that all the superheroes have where I say like they're in the writer's room and they're all just like, and then we'll do that, and then we'll do that. That's not the issue.
I think it's a pretty straightforward story. I think it follows like a very good arc. I loved the characters. I love the fact that it, at the core of it, it's really about friendship. It's not, and it's got some great lessons in it. It's really funny. It's very sweet. I think it's a little bit scary, but it is a wonderful movie to watch with kids. Like, it's something you can enjoy on your own, but I actually think it's a really great story to share with like, younger generation.
You should take your kids to go see it.
Because whereas I think with Infinity War, what I think with Infinity War, what a lot of people talk about is like, wait, so you just killed all the superheroes? But who is this?
Yeah, I don't know how you're supposed to explain that one to kids.
Right?
Who's
this for? Whereas I think this one is really functions on like the opposite end of that spectrum.
Where they don't kill all the superheroes at the end?
And it really feels like the story, like, it's great. And it was,
So that's awesome. How was Zachary Levi?
He was everything you wanted. He meets and then exceeds the expectations. He's funny and endearing. He's definitely bringing Chuck to the table. I think if you're a fan of Chuck, you're watching, you're going, this is exactly what I want to see. And if you've never seen Chuck before, now you know why you should go watch the series. He's also playing a really
by the way,
it's a great
people who are listening
show.
on
I'm
iTunes,
Chuck is an ultimate Rec RX.
Chuck, by the way, people on iTunes, I saw this week, is on sale for $20 all 5 seasons.
That's a deal.
Buy it. You will never, ever, ever regret that. Honestly, I own it already, and I'm like annoyed. I want to just buy it again.
I kind of want to buy it just to have it in my account.
Yeah.
Like, season 1's a little bit
like
dated,
all
goofy.
Season 1s of shows.
Like all season 1, but it's also like a little bit dated in its goofiness, but it's really worth it. Okay, so but the thing with Zachary Levi is that he's playing. This is not a surprise to anyone, right? With the characters, no, because that's in the preview. He's playing a 14-year-old boy.
And that's what Shazam is about.
That's what Shazam is about. And so I think that's why he's really perfect for it, because he can embody that goofiness, that teenageness really, really well. And I think in that respect, it was really, really well done. The fact that it is about kids in a way that it feels like it's about kids, more so than, even than Spider-Man Homecoming, where it's about a teenager, but I feel like a very adult story.
We should regroup once Shai and I have seen it and do a more in-depth.
In 6 months? A year. When's it
No,
coming out
that
on your
sounds-
video store? 5 years?
It's really cute.
What do they call it in Spain?
I guess it's called just Shazam. I'm actually going to look it up right now.
How do
and
you
see
pronounce Shazam in Espanol?
Shazam.
Shazam, I guess.
But Shazam is an
Then it's probably
acronym.
like it's probably
But
called
it's an acronym.
Shazam, la historia del niño pequeño que es un superhéroe grande. Like there's always like so much more title that's
because
necessary.
Shazam is an acronym.
For
It's
what?
not- he says it. The old guy says it. Hercules
Oh, the movie.
and Zeus, and
Zeus.
Mercury,
Oh,
and like those are all, and Solomon,
yeah.
the wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Hercules. Like that's where they got the name Shazam from.
Got it. Song it. Got it. That did not come
There's
across.
the other Shazam movie.
No, you're thinking
No,
of
that's
Kazam with Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh,
Yeah, that's different. But this is
Why
great.
did they make
So I've been
that
watching
movie,
that,
right?
and then I've also started the new season of Veep, which I talked about a couple weeks ago. And I have to say, it is absolutely fantastic, but it's the type of season where I think you only really get how funny it is if you've seen all the other seasons.
Makes sense.
And you have like a
That
base
makes
with it,
sense.
because the way the characters talk, the politics of what's going on, the storylines are, you have to have that build up. So wonderful season, not for just jumping in on.
So
It's a lot.
It's
Plays
really
a lot
like
better.
it's really like a farewell to the fans in a way,
Yeah, I
like
mean,
a victory
it's
lap.
the way it's written. I don't know if it's like a.
But I feel like
It's a
that's
really good
season
storyline.
7. I feel like a season that makes sense. Like a show at that point, it should not be catering to new audience members.
Yeah,
Like
it's great,
it
and
should
I
be.
think that's where it's doing really well, is that it's not trying to like add in something new and exciting that you didn't need before. It's
Or an unnecessary
it feels like
twist.
it's wrapping up the storylines of the different characters, and it's great. Yeah. So I mean, it's only 2 episodes in, but I'm laughing very hard.
That's great. And Lily, what are you watching other than Randy Macho Man Savage inspirational videos?
God. Well, I have like a Rec RX situation for Becky's brought this subject up before. When you're in a situation maybe with in-laws or like visitors at your house for 5 days, 6 days a week, and you don't like, I don't know if this happens to other people, but I, still work all day and like still like to not break my routine of like making my tea and watching my show at night, even though I mean, it's nice to talk to your guests, obviously, but like once you talk to them, you're kind of like,
I'm totally with you.
you're just like, I just want to watch a show. So we've gotten to the habit, and Becky's mentioned this, like when she's been with her in-laws for a week, like what show could we all watch together? And Becky started Outlander, but I've had a particular conundrum, and I've brought this up on the show, of having my mom-in-law in town just for 5 days, 6 days. I can't deal with trying to find a movie every night to watch that I'm willing to watch dubbed, because she only watches stuff in Spanish. So that's just way too stressful. So I instead have to find a quick 6 to 8 ep show that has some sort of mystery or thriller that is not too scary for me because I don't like horror, that we can knock out an episode every night. And then because she doesn't have Netflix or anything like that, when she goes home, we can finish it before she leaves. So it's like
if it doesn't exist yet, just give it a couple months. It will eventually exist. There's so much content being created. I think, in fact, put in your ask now, and I'm sure Netflix will make it.
This is true, but I've found for our situation a quick fix of the show The Sinner, which I think I brought up last time.
You brought that up last time.
Yeah. She was visiting and we watched season 1, and now that she's visiting, we're watching season 2.
That's pretty smart.
And it's interesting.
What about a show where you don't need to follow the story, where it's something like an unscripted, like a Queer Eye type thing? Maybe there's like a paranormal.
I mean, they are more into things where somebody's murdered and like.
But they want to see the murder.
Stories?
But they want to see the murder. They don't want to like have it happen off camera.
Oh,
right. This is a good point too, Shai. Yes. But maybe, yes, Becky, that could be a good option of like one of those, like, the OJ stories or one of these like.
Yeah, what about the Versace
Wait,
one?
who's OJ?
Yeah. That's about like a serial killer.
Lily, who's OJ?
I said OJ.
OJ?
You said OJ.
What about the Versace one? Isn't he a serial killer?
Actually,
right, exactly.
Actually, the Versace show gets. We eventually stopped watching it. It gets pretty graphic.
We talked about this. But the point is that I find, I'd like someone to send me a list of a bunch of these shows that fit my criteria, and I've so far found 2. Well, 2 seasons of The Sinner has gotten the job done. So that's what we're watching. It's good if you like a mystery show. It's a what done it, not a who done it. So if you're into that kind of thing,
a what done it?
Yeah, because or why done it. Sorry, not what. Why done it, not who done it. It begins with you seeing the murder and you know who does the murder. You just don't know why they've done it, and they don't know or they don't tell you. And Bill Pullman has to figure it out.
Bill Pullman?
Yeah, I like a good Bill Pullman and a beard.
Oh, Bill Pullman and he has a beard?
Yeah,
hey, you're right. You had me at Bill
Pullman.
It's only 8 episodes. You should have led with, I watched a show where Bill Pullman has a beard. I would have...
I also, where's the Pullman-assance? I want to see that guy in, like, maybe a rom-com.
A rom-com?
He was so good in While You Were Sleeping. Give that man a chance.
He was in, most important, he was in Spaceballs. I mean, think about how long that guy's career has been and how much he looks the same.
Do you feel like we're getting sidetracked here talking about Bill Pullman?
No, I don't think.
I mean,
that's why the podcast exists.
I will say that I'm excited to see. Have you guys heard of the movie called Little that's coming out? It is the with Issa Rae. Right? Yeah, with Issa Rae, the youngest executive producer of all time. It's like a 14-year-old girl. She wrote it. I think she wrote it, and she wrote the screenplay with somebody. It was her pitch. She took a pitch to the studio with her parents, and they picked it up, and she's executive producing it, and she's the youngest executive producer of all time. And I heard Issa Rae do an interview about it, and she's like a little black
Issa Rae. Again, I'm pretty sure it's Issa, not Issa Rae. Issa Rae.
It's pretty amazing. A young African. It's a reverse big.
Funny.
Regina Hall, who's pretty funny. I think she's pretty funny. Regina Hall is like nasty, like high-powered boss who's just like mean to everybody. Issa Rae is her. I said that. Is her assistant who just gets like abused by her. And she's like super obnoxious to everybody, Regina Hall, and gets like a spell put on her, and she wakes up as a 14-year-old, or like a kid, or like, I don't know if she's like 12 or whatever. And Issa Rae has to be her like in her stead at work, because she obviously like she shows up to work as a 14-year-old in like a pantsuit, and nobody takes her seriously because she's a kid, and so like she has to then go to high school. So it's like a reverse big. It looks really cute.
Oh, okay. Do you think they'll dance on a piano?
I mean, I don't think they'll go that far, but it's a serendipitous situation. I'm like, every few years, I need like a movie like that, like a 13 going on 30.
13 going on 30.
I love that movie.
I like that one. No, which is
my all-time favorite movie?
Which is the one with Efron and Matthew Perry?
17 again. That's depressing.
That one is underrated. I like that one.
Depressing.
Love that one. No.
Yeah, because it's like
we need
Matthew Perry.
All right, we will be back at some point just to talk about age swap movies.
The big,
that would be a great one. Let's get a guest on for that one. That's a good one. Like maybe someone who's really old but still looks young. We can have them on as a guest.
We should have Tom Hanks on.
I think he looks age appropriate.
Let's see. Oh, maybe that again. I guess he can't come on the podcast. Okay.
He's busy. Okay. Do you guys have any shout-outs for this week?
I do. I want to give a shout out to my friend Kendall Sager, to her bees, Kendall's Bees and Sager Family Farms. Kendall is an urban beekeeper. That's what I'm going to call it. She's an urban beekeeper, and she has a little backyard farm in her house, where she has some of her bees that she keeps. She keeps bees all over the city, actually, at different people's homes, and she harvests, she said, about 1 ton of honey every year, and she teaches educational classes on bees and beekeeping and making honey. And then she also has some like chickens, and she's going to be getting some baby lambs coming up. And we went over and we visited her, and she let us pet the chickens, and she gave us some eggs to come home with, and we bought all this honey.
How is Kendall Buzzington going to hear this? I'm guessing she's not doesn't have
Instagram.
Oh, she is?
She's on Instagram.
She doesn't
we
have
can
like
tag Sager Family Farms.
Oh, okay, all right. So it's not like they don't have electricity or
Shai
podcasts
only
there.
wants you to do shout outs to people who will hear them.
She lives in the city.
There's no shout outs to
Oh,
people
it's urban.
Urban. She's a bee. She's
and
like
no
lives.
celebrity.
She lives like on a normal residential street and has like the hives that she keeps. She's like she's like just lives out here.
I would like to know what insurance you have that many bees in your house.
No, she doesn't have that many in her house. She spreads them out amongst other people's homes who like are volunteer bee hosts for her. It's really cool, actually.
And like,
and it's actually super important because like all the bees are dying and feed them. So she's doing some really important environmental work.
How do you go there and not worry about getting?
The honey is on another level. The honey is like
what about stinking?
I have been eating the honey by the spoonful. Eating it by the spoonful.
First of all, that sounds amazing. I really want fresh honey. So
what about the sting?
Bring me some in LA.
Bring me
some honey.
Bring me some in LA. Second of all, do you guys remember Mom was so good at helping us make snacks even more junky than they already were? Do you remember when we didn't have Honey Nut Cheerios, but she'd let you just pour honey all over your Cheerios, and you'd be like scraping honey off the bottom?
I will not allow you to eat this cereal without tons of sugar.
Pour sugar on your cereal and on all your fruit.
Like, you'd be able to take like a sugar bowl.
Powdered sugar.
My mouth is watering thinking about this.
But what about the stinging? I'm concerned. Like, it's not a thing to worry about going to visit with like bees flying around?
When you go visit her, no. Well, first of all, the hives I think are like, she might have even sealed them when we came. Like, I don't know how that works, but no, I didn't even see a bee. It was cold that day, so they're all like burrowed inside. I mean, for all I know, it's just like some boxes. She keeps some bee suits around. I don't know. Maybe she's buying the honey at Costco. No, I'm kidding. She's not. It's her own.
It sounds very cool. I'm particularly interested in the
It was such a cool experience, and I want to keep taking Miri back to visit her and see all the animals. And it was just a super cool experience.
That is super cool. Buzzington Family Farms. Oh no, Sager Family Farms.
Sager Family.
Sorry, I just made up Buzzington.
You just rebranded it.
I just rebranded.
Welcome.
What about you, Lily? Any shout outs?
I mean, I'm not going to be like Becky and pretend. No. I mean, this week Becky had one. But I could shout out to my mother-in-law, but she's not going to hear this podcast because it's in English. So thanks, Mom-in-law, for coming and saving our lives during this work week. But she won't listen, so she doesn't let you shout out to people who don't hear the podcast.
You're just going to cut that part.
So I am going to shout out to the great musician Rachel Levitin, who I've mentioned before. I took our eldest child down for an evening of bonding down at the DC Wharf, and Rachel runs the open mic at Union Stage, which is a cool music venue down by the wharf. And she dedicated a song for my older child in front of like a whole bar of people, and it was a really special song from her EP, and the song is called Dreaming, and it's beautiful. She's got an incredible voice and writes beautiful lyrics, and she's extremely talented. I mentioned her before. People should check her out. And with that, Lily, since your microphone is not muted, I think that's what you were asking me just now.
So that my mute button's broken.
Oh, it's possible. Since you are not muted, where can people follow you?
Chi K Gomez on Twitter.
And Becky, where?
And this podcast.
Which you're probably already listening to.
You're doing a good job.
Follow me on Twitter at PaperBKPrincess.
And you can follow me at Pancake for Table. You can follow Friday Night Movie at Friday Night Movie on Twitter and Instagram. And you can meet us in person and hang out. Well, you probably know us if you listen to this, but you can see us podcast in person at the All-Star Comic-Con, June 7th, 8th, and 9th, Tyson's Corner, Virginia. The music from What Does It Eat will kick in, and we will dance. And thank you guys for an awesome episode. Bye.
Bye. Can we redo the opening, I have a better answer to how are you doing.
No, you can do it now, and I'll just put it as the outtake afterwards.
Okay, so I'm actually... I think
You're
I've been
just going to talk about Mary's sleep schedule?
No, I'm
we
not.
don't want to hear it.
No, I've actually been
didn't say that, Becky.
thinking about it, but I'm hosting like my first big Passover. I'm going to have like 16 people. I'm cooking the whole thing, and I'm very stressed about the menu. Do I do a brisket? Do I do a braised lamb? Would I even have enough room to do all the lamb I'd need to make? Maybe it's better to make a brisket.
This isn't Egypt 3000 BC. You don't have to do a lamb. I think a brisket is just fine.
Do a brisket.
He loves to always one-up it with a lamb.
Right.
I'll just do a brisket. I have some ideas.
I think a brisket is...
Because you can't just make one meat. You have to make a second meat. So then for the chicken...
Yeah, but then you got to pick a white meat.
Yeah, I'm going to do like a chicken, but then exactly, you got to do like a lighter meat. So I have this other idea for like a chicken thing that's actually going to be these like herb zucchini little sliders that'll be like lighter and a little bit, Anyways, I'm a little bit stressed about the menu. I spend a lot of time making lists and
Is Mom making chopped liver?
No, Mom's arriving like a half an hour before the Seder. I'm making chopped liver.
Very cool.
I've made it now a few times, so I know what I'm doing.
Who's making matzah brie?
Mom's going to make matzah brie the next day, and I think Mom's going to be bringing some of her gefilte fish.
Oh, that's pretty good. Lily, what are you doing for Passover?
I'm going to do my own Seder here.
Is Shai going to come and lead it?
I wish. Oh my gosh. I wish, but it's also like a 4-day weekend here. So everybody's like peacing out because it's Easter here. People get Thursday and Friday off. So it's a 4-day holiday. So we're going to have...
At that point, everyone just takes the whole week off, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Most people I know are going as of Monday. They're leaving town. Or this weekend, they're leaving town. So yeah, it's always a holiday in Spain. But we're going to have our good friends over... And maybe like a few, there's like a new Jew that we may have met here. So I got that an Israeli that moved here. So we'll invite possibly some new folk and have our family friends over and do like a small Seder, mostly for kids. And Mom and Dad brought me tons of matzah. So I got the matzah, got the matzah ready to go. And I'm on a real golden graham cracker kick. I just want to share that with you guys.
Wait, like golden grams, the food, or honey-made graham crackers?
No, graham crackers. Sorry,
like honey-made graham crackers.
Right.
Like cinnamon or plain?
Weird Spanish translation of it right now.
I don't. They're just so golden and beautiful looking.
And do you fall, a plain or a cinnamon? Ooh. I'm a plain girl.
I'm a plain, but I feel like there is an occasion for a cinnamon. But
generally I'm a plain.
Generally, I'm good with the plain.
So.
Plain is so good, but with Shai and we talked about how it's so. I love it like fresh out of the packet, and Shai likes it like a few days open, so it's like a bit soggy.
Yeah. I like graham crackers after they sat for a while and moist.
Kosher for Passover graham crackers because you're really into these lately. No thanks, guys. Like you can make s'mores.
Guys, on this note, I gotta go eat some lunch.
I gotta say, s'mores is if you can find a kosher for Passover graham cracker.
Passover graham cracker. They brought me. You guys could do s'mores. For Passover.
People are bringing desserts to my house. I was like,
during the week
everyone can bring wine and dessert, and I'll take it.
When do children have to keep kosher for Passover?
Always.
Do they?
They don't have to wait till they're as soon as they're old enough to not eat like mush. Like what do children eat that's not kosher for Passover?
Pasta, like every single day of his life.
Oh well, they have to take a break from that.
Just
really?
Pasta.
I mean, I don't know if your kid does. He's young enough that it's not a big deal.
Gluten-free pasta.
Put it this way: at the point that they know the story of Passover, they definitely can't be eating bread at Passover.
He definitely doesn't know the story of Passover.
But I have in our Amazon account Rugrats Passover. It is.
We watched it. Him and I watched it together.
It's amazing. All the times I tried to explain my kids the Passover story, one episode of Rugrats, and they 100% got it.